It's really easy to judge other people, isn't it? And it's really tempting to do at times, especially when people do or say something we disagree with or don't like, or when they make a mistake or do something that may be really wrong. And people judge others all the time. It seems like everybody's judging others all the time these days for different reasons. And so often we actually feel pretty justified and pretty qualified to judge others. We think of ourselves as upstanding people who believe what's right and do what's good. And so we think of ourselves as justified and qualified for judging others. We're sure that we're right in our opinions and assessments about the world. And we're sure that we know what other people's motives are and what their thought process was that led them to do or say what they did. So we judge others. We often think of them as less, and in many cases, we think of them as bad people. But are we really justified to judge others? There's a story in the Bible about a woman who was caught in adultery. And back then, that was not only against the law, it was punishable by stoning to death. But Jesus happened to be there that day, so the crowd asked him what he thought that they should do. And in John 8:7, Jesus said this, "Let any of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And after that, it says that the people began to slowly leave, the oldest ones first, and then the rest of them. Why? Because Jesus had reminded them that they weren't justified to judge her because they were all sinners too, every one of them and every one of us. We're also not really qualified to judge others in the way that we might think of. The truth is that we're not always right in our assessments and opinions about the world. And on top of that, we can never really know what's on another person's heart or mind, or why they've done what they've done, or what has happened to them that might have led to a particular situation. So the reality is we're not justified or qualified to judge others. Only God is justified to judge because only God is without sin, and only God is qualified to judge because only God knows what is truly right in every circumstance, and only God really knows the hearts of people and the minds and why they've done what they've done. We are not justified. We are not qualified. That's God's job, and it really is his job alone. And I think that we need to keep in mind that even though God is the judge, he always has mercy. He always has grace, which are things that we often fail to have for others when we make ourselves the judge. When we judge others, we're playing God, we're doing a poor job at it, and it's displeasing to God. So I have a challenge for us. The next time that you are tempted to judge someone, instead, try to think of them in the very best light that you can. Try to imagine what they might have done or said in the best, most sympathetic terms that you can. Now, doing this doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to agree with them or condone what they've done, but what this exercise often has an effect of doing is softening our hearts towards this other person. Then, second part of the challenge, I want you to try to have mercy and grace on this person, because God has mercy and grace on us, and that's what he calls us to do for one another.